I think some of the parts that slowed down for me was actually like his process or whatever, like the thing that we kind of saw. Like some I'm like, all right, what is this? What are we getting at? Okay, yeah. So, all right.
Hi, this is Randall here with No Market Media.
And I'm Matt. Today, Randall and I are reviewing a new release, taking a look at Death on the Nile. It stars Kenneth Branagh, Gal Gadot, Armie Hammer, Emma Mackey, and Tom Bateman. Branagh also directed the film, as well as the first movie in the film series, Murder on the Orient Express, Thor, and Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. Now, before we go any further, if you like this review, be sure to give us a thumbs up. Also, be sure to hit subscribe and ring that bell for notifications on our latest videos.
Death on the Nile finds famed detective Hercule Poirot as he is trying to vacation near the river Nile, but of course becomes unintentionally involved in a series of murders which he must solve. Had about a $90 million budget, has come out to mixed reviews from critics, but above average reviews from audiences. It is based on the Agatha Christie novel of the same name. This is the second big screen adaptation of Death on the Nile following the 1978 film. And of course, this is a follow-up to the 2017 movie adaptation of Agatha Christie's Murder on the Orient Express.
Alright, so my first impressions of this movie, I thought, it was a pretty good movie. And we have, yet again, another good cast. They do a good job. Now, I'm not as familiar on Death on the Nile as I am Murder on the Orient Express. So for me, this was like going into like a new experience. I don't know how it played out and going in. But honestly, like leaving the film, I didn't really feel like I experienced something new, though. So I guess that would be my first impression of the film.
So I thought it was just a little bit derivative of the first film, or Murder on the Orient Express. But I'll forgive it being that, because this is like this detective's method. This is how he does things. So if you're worrying like, hey, he's just taking people into the room and interrogating them, this is just like the first one. I'm like, yeah, but that's how he solves his crimes. So I'm like, okay, I'll forgive it that particular fault. Usually you complain like, oh, I want something new. It's okay this time around. And then I did find that there were a couple of places where the movie kind of slows down and veers off into a different direction. And I haven't read the book, and I don't really know anything about the story. So I didn't know if it was just doing that because it wanted to do that in the movie, or if it was doing that because it was trying to be more true to the book. So I found that there were some scenes in here where I'm like, that's a little bit distracting and off topic from our main story. I don't know why they did that.
I think some of the parts that slowed down for me was actually like his process or whatever, like the thing that we kind of saw. Like some I'm like, all right, what is this? What are we getting at? Okay, yeah. So, all right, I get it. We gotta go through all these people and go through everyone, and interrogate everyone individually. But yeah, to me that's where I got a little bit of a slowdown. But honestly, it's not like this movie really drags her on or too much or whatever.
And it just rings in right there at about 2 hours. Like,
yep.
Pretty much flat. So no, it doesn't drag itself. It's just there's a couple of spots where I didn't know, like, why are you going off in that direction? Because you can. Or because it's in the book. I don't know. Someone answer that question who's actually read the book, please. As far as the plot's concerned, I mean, most of it obviously is murder mystery, but I enjoyed how it took us through the first part of the movie, took us all through why everyone could have been the person who did the murder. I thought that was fun, where it's like, all right, even though you kind of get this sense of, probably not that person, probably not that person, it doesn't matter. They could have conceivably been the people who did the murder. So, I mean, you said that part of the movie kind of slows things down a little bit, and maybe, yeah. But for me, it was the most interesting part of the film, where I'm like, yeah, I could see it.
No, I agree. I actually like that part at the beginning, how as we go in, because like the first movie, we're basically establishing kind of like Poirot and different stuff. By this movie, we know who Poirot is, and we know that he investigates like murders and stuff. So as the audience, we know that something bad's gonna happen. Some murder or something is going to happen. So yeah.
Spoiler alert, it's in the title!
Yeah, murder on the Death on the Nile, murder on the Orient Express, both of them. Someone's going to die. But yeah, for me, I like that, Book is kind of like saying, like, oh, here's so-and-so, and this is why so-and-so might not like our lady, which is kind of weird because nothing has happened, but I guess because, Book is Poirot's friend, Book knows how Poirot thinks and stuff,
yeah,
and I think...
But that's super early.
Mm-hmm.
That's, like, way early when they're in, like, the club or whatever, or something, or the wedding, I think it is, when Book shows up, actually. And you're just like... Yeah, he's just bringing them up to date on the gossip, basically. It's been a long time since they've seen each other, probably since the murder on the Orient Express bit, really. So... Yeah, it didn't bother me. I thought that was fun. That's a good fun plot point to bring not only the audience up to date, but also, our main character.
Yep. And of course, the bad thing happens where this movie's kind of interesting. It's kind of like there was quite a bit of like build up. Like our characters are like worried, like, oh, we think something bad at least could happen or whatever to set up. And then when the bad thing happens, it's Poirot goes in, like full gear, full on, like, oh yeah, this is why I'm here, kind of thing. Like,
yes.
Going through like, hey, this, who are you, and him trying to piece together different things.
Yeah. So the parts of the plot though that like get worse as the movie goes on, at least worse for me, is characters who have no real reason to lie. Where it's like, why are you lying now? This doesn't necessarily make sense to me. I'm like, oh, gotta keep the plot going. Gotta keep the plot going. All right, okay, I guess. And I'm like, yeah, it's not like it doesn't reflect poorly on such and such character, but I also just like, some of these characters are friends, some of these characters have known each other for a while, and some of these characters just don't really have a reason to lie, but yet lie anyways.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. It's almost like this movie is stringing us along. But at the other time, too, it's like, well, is it trusting that we know that we're getting strung along too much or not? I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how other people react to this film, too. But, yeah, I think that's part of my slow up, I think, too, when we are investigating other people. And investigating other people because they are lying and saying different stuff. And it's kind of like, well, yeah, that's a little bit of a slow up for me at some point.
But, I mean, in comparison to Murder on the Orient Express... Every single person there has a reason to be lying to Poirot. In this one, they're not, this is a spoiler, but, like, they're not all in it. It's not the same story as Murder on the Orient Express. So when some of them start lying, I'm like, why? It's not the same. They all had reasons to lie to him in the first one.
Yeah.
In this one, I'm like, that person should have just told the truth. And how it should have ended is probably going to point that out if they ever do, and how it should have ended on this movie.
Yeah. I think it's weird. It's interesting to see, because we've seen Murder on the Orient Express, I wonder how much of it is they're kind of like, well, all right, well, they know the formula, so how much are we just staying to the formula of the first one, but also, trying to change it up a little bit to keep the audience guessing or whatever? I don't know. And that's one of the things I think kind of like helps the movie, but also might be to the detriment of it for me at some point too.
Yeah.
Alright, characters. So first one we're going to talk about is, Poirot. Branagh, he does a good job as Poirot, directed this film, plays the main character and stuff. He did good on the Murder on the Orient Express. He does well on Death on the Nile too. So, Branagh, I think he does a real good job as, the famed detective. I think, this is another one of those movies where we have, like, a big, pretty well-known actor, some maybe not as well-known. And I guess I would say of maybe not as well-known characters, or actors, one that stood out for me was Emma Mackey. I really did like Jackie, and, like, the role that Jackie kind of plays in this film. I mean, even from the beginning, everyone's looking at her as kind of like, a little bit unhinged and stuff because of circumstances. A lot of people are saying like, hey, we don't really trust, Jackie being around here and kind of thing. I thought that Emma Mackey did a really good job playing that role.
Yeah, I think she did a pretty good job too, especially the like going from like just a weird kind of like friend of our main characters, like the Linneys, and then going kind of unhinged, like making that transition between those two. Pretty good. Yes, Kenneth Branagh is amazing as Hercule Poirot. Let's move on.
Yeah.
It's Kenneth Branagh.
Yep.
It's kind of what he does. I would say Gal Gadot does a very good job.
Mm-hmm.
She's in the movie for like maybe half of the film, basically, where she's actually doing her role. Now, then she's the heiress, she's the murder, she's the mystery, basically. And all this other cast, all this other ensemble, they all did fine. It's not bad acting or anything. I just think the script kind of let some of their characters down. Where I'm like, well, some of these characters, they don't have a lot to do.
Mm-hmm.
So they're just there and they're answering, Poirot's questions. And I'm like, okay, it's not as interesting or fun to watch when they don't have as much skin in the game, basically. But all the mains do a great job. Armie Hammer does a good job, like you said, and Emma does a good job. I enjoyed the characters for the most part. I just thought that some of the other characters are a little less important, not as fun to watch.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it is because of the structure. Because, well, we know Gal Gadot's going to be our, victim or whatever. And Emma Mackey, early on, Jackie is who we're trying to, set up to, hey, we got to watch this person kind of thing. So those are, the characters that really are able to have, that screen presence. But maybe that's why they stand out as much for us. Because, like I said, they're able to actually give them the room to do that.
All right, so as a genre, it's a murder mystery, obviously. What would be the fun of an Agatha Christie movie or book? Murder mysteries are her bread and butter, I guess you'd say. And it's got murder, and it's got a mystery, so it's good, right? Right? All in all, though, I thought the mystery was a little easy to figure out. I thought they made it a little bit too easy to figure out for someone like me who had never read the book, and it's not as famous as Murder on the Orient Express, where that's kind of well known how that ends. I'm like, I don't know how this ends, and I didn't know the exact this person did this person did this, but I knew real early on that the mystery was no, that's too convenient. It's though like this is what's going on. So I found that to be a little disappointing.
Yeah, I'm with you right on there with the murder mystery. I think Branagh really did the direction of, hey, I'm gonna do it, kind of almost like before, or try to stay true or whatever. Granted, like Randall and I have said, we haven't read the book, so we don't know exactly how true that this is the state of the book. But to me, for the feel of it, yes, it did seem predictable. And I think part of it, because it is kind of staying in, like other previous murder mystery stuff we felt before. I would say, on, the flip side, something like Knives Out is kind of like one of those movies that does kind of like the traditional, but still feels, I guess, new, modern, unpredictable. This one, to me, doesn't. It does kind of feel more like we're gonna go by the playbook, don't fix it if it's not broken kind of thing. Alright, so what I didn't see coming, because I don't really want to give up, spoilers or anything. I don't want to say, I didn't see the ending coming, though, like Randall, we both saw the ending coming. But some of the stuff I didn't expect to see coming. The very beginning, I didn't expect to see, the World War I kind of flashback stuff. That's one thing I didn't see coming. And I guess the other thing I'd say I didn't see coming is the dirty dancing scenes or whatever. I mean, very minor, but me trying to pick on stuff hey, I didn't see this coming. I guess those were the two things I didn't see coming before going into this movie.
I thought for the 1930s, even the late 1930s, the dirty dancing that was going on was I don't think so.
You gotta think this is, this is in some other, European country or whatever.
I guess, maybe, but it's that part's in London.
Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't around then, but yes, to me it did feel a little different. I guess maybe it's kind of what we've been told about history and dance at that time, but it's man, this is doesn't really feel like
it's
1938
kind of
dancing.
A grungy underground type of thing, but I don't know, that was a little off-putting. But however, Matt's close to this is the same scene where I didn't see it coming. Okay? I did not see it coming. 1937 electric guitar. Okay, there's an electric guitar, and I don't usually get my phone out in a theater, but it bugged me so much that I'm like, was the electric guitar even invented yet? To find out, literally, like, electric guitar in theater. Sorry to anyone who might have been sitting around me. 1932, by the way. And I'm like, okay, so she's just cutting edge.
She's just cutting edge.
She's just cutting edge. The electric guitar bothered me so much. I'm like, really?
Just wasn't mainstream that everyone was electric at the time, but yeah.
It won't be mainstream for another 30 years almost, or I guess 50. So say 15 to 20 years.
Yeah.
But I was shocked to see it.
Yep. Yeah, I guess it's one of those things where, that's kind of like they probably did the same thing too. It's like, well, it's easier for us to have electric guitar. Well, electric guitar's around, like, oh yeah, we're good.
We're good. All right, so if you're just looking for a decent murder mystery that's wrapped up nice and tight by the end of its 2-hour runtime, you can do a lot worse than Death on the Nile. So from that perspective, it's great, but I don't really think it's worth a whole bunch of repeat viewings because the way that Poirot just, like, lays out everything at the end, there's nothing left for you to go back and be like, oh, I'm going to go catch this the next time I watch it. It's like, no. It's all laid out in perfect, exactly what happened. Perfect little tidbits of exactly what happened. So, entertaining, but maybe not worth a second view.
Yeah, I'm there with you. I thought this was a decent movie, pretty good movie, good actors and stuff on it. I still go back to the thing is, like, I still don't feel like I saw anything, like, really, like, new or whatever. Like, it's a good film, and it's good to see, but it's not something I'm going to go out of my way and say, like, oh, you gotta see this movie kind of thing. So I guess I'm at that part, too. I mean, it still grants it being made and stuff because it is a good film, but yeah, it's not something that I would say, like, is going to stand out to me or whatever. But, maybe we're wrong. Let us know in the comments below if you've seen Death on the Nile, especially if you've read the book. We want to hear from you if you read the book. Let us know.
Let us know how wrong we are.
Also, be sure to check out some of our other reviews. We have other new movie reviews, flashback movie reviews, take a look at TV series, and we have deeper dive discussions.
And of course, you can always go check us out over on Facebook. We post on Facebook the day before what's coming up next on YouTube. We also post tidbits from our other fandoms there as well. If you don't have Facebook, pay it no mind. Just put us on your schedule. New videos every Monday and Thursday. For now, I'm Randall, No Market Media. See everyone next time.
And I'm Matt. Have a good day, everyone. Next time on No Market Media. Please consider checking out some of our other videos.